I honestly just want my music to get to the ears that appreciate it.
So how are you? What are you doing with your day off then?
Just, just relaxing. I'm gonna go out, spend some time in the park, go see my family a bit.
What's the first music you remember hearing growing up?
Actually, it's an interesting story, like my music origin. Um, I actually, like, when I grew up, most of what we were listening to, or what we were like allowed to listen to, was like religious music, ethnic music. I grew up in more of a religious family.
Okay.
So our music, like my music knowledge and my music listening was like super limited, in terms of like what the rest of the world was listening to and everything on the radio, and basically like all the good stuff. So yeah, I spent basically like every single summer of my childhood in summer camp, which was like also a religious summer camp. The same deal, like, the music was like religious music, and it was like more of a closed community. So I spent every summer there from like the age of, I would say, like 10 till like 15, or maybe even earlier, maybe like 8 until 15, 16. And one summer I was about 10, I think I was about 11 or 12. And I found this cassette, like, how we used to be able to like record the radio onto a cassette.
Yeah,
So it
that's
was like,
my childhood.
yeah. So I found a cassette, and of course I had like my headset and my Walkman. And I put it in, and I was just like, whoa. Like it was basically all the hits on the radio from that time, like when I was about 10, 11 years old. I remember it had like Hand in My Pocket by Alanis Morissette, Last Kiss by Pearl Jam, what else? Had, Ace of Base, some Semisonic in there, all the like late mid 90s like pop hits.
Okay.
And I was just like mesmerized. I was like, okay, this is what like real music sounds like. This is so good.
And how did your
Yeah.
family feel about you listening to that music? Did you have to kind of do it in secret, or were they okay for you to
Well, yeah, like at
find?
the time as a kid, it was just like I had this tape, and like me and my friends would like listen to it, and like I'm sure it wouldn't have been the end of the world, but it was just like, this like little secret like music listening time. And I don't know, I fell in love with those songs. I fell in love with the songs, and just the sound, like it was so different than what I had been hearing
Yeah.
as a kid. And so those are like some of my major influences, like all the basically like mid 90s, like pop rock, singer songwriter, late, like after that, I got more into like, I knew what I liked, and I started like exploring music on my own, listening to the radios a lot, like making my own little recording cassettes, like recorded off the radio. So yeah, that was like basically my start in like discovering music and like what the genres that I love to listen to.
And can you remember the first thing that you actually spent your own money on, like the first album or single that you bought?
Oh, the first album. I do. I made quite a couple of like trips to like HMV, pick up CDs. Um, I think it was the first couple were, I remember the Shins.
Nice.
Like, yeah, one of their albums like from the early 2000s, Smashing Pumpkins, a couple of like, guilty pleasures, as people would call it now, like, I don't know, like Blink 182, like Our Lady Peace, like all that
Right.
kind of pop rock, um, more grunge, Nirvana for sure. I can't remember what it was exactly the first one. that I got. But a lot of like 90s alternative and like pop rock and Alanis Morissette, I got all of her albums. I was like super into that back then.
So you can hear quite a few of those influences in your music. There's definitely a little bit of a 90s vibe going on, even though it still sounds very contemporary.
Oh yeah, I can't get away from it. Even when I try, like sometimes I'll be like, let me write something that sounds like what's happening today. Like in the indie music scene or like the dream pop. I know like some of the music has a lot of like singer-songwriter. It has like a lot of dream pop kind of influences, but I just can't get away from that like 90s kind of grunge sound, no matter what I write. It's like, it's tormenting me.
But that's good, I think, because, you know, there's not a ton of people that are doing it at the moment, and you're doing it really well.
Oh, thank you.
And quite a lot of the time, those kind of genres of music, they kind of go away for a while and they come back again. So maybe you're going to be at the forefront of the next wave.
Oh, yeah. Someone recently told me that my album sounds like something of the brainchild of Nirvana and Nick Drake. And I was like, whoa, okay, cool. I mean, I've never heard that before, but that was nice.
Yeah, that's not bad company to be in the middle of, right?
Yeah. And I get a lot of Mazzy Starr also like influences. A couple of last blogs that have shared my single I Don't Mind.
Yeah.
So many references to Mazzy Starr, which was surprising to me a little bit. I'm not sure.
Your music, you know, some of it's really mellow, but some of it kind of gets going as well. And sometimes, surprisingly, sometimes the louder parts of your music come out of nowhere, I feel, a little bit. And I think it has more impact as a result. And maybe that's some of that Nirvana reference that your friend was talking about. Maybe that's where that came from. Right.
Yeah, it depends on the show. Like I've done a lot of shows that were just acoustic, you know, because and everything that I've released before, you can kind of, it's so singer-songwriter that you can strip the whole band away and still play the whole song, just like vocals and guitar, and it will still work. So, you know, there's been shows that, you know, the band like fully rocked out and it was loud. And then some shows where are super stripped down, just like an acoustic set.
Does that give you more freedom for booking gigs where people don't have the budget to bring in a band and maybe they're looking for an opening act?
Right. Yeah. I always say like, I'm ready to play. Like I'll make it happen. You know, if you need just an acoustic set or full band, I feel like the songs can be played in so many different ways that they're not just limited to like the full rock band version.
Yeah. Now I've been trying to learn guitar my entire life, but then I meet somebody like you and you don't just play guitar. You basically make me feel like I'm even worse as a musician than a bad guitarist. So tell me about...
What do you mean by that?
Well, because you play... Tell me about the different instruments that you do play.
Well, drums, I would say, is my first instrument. It was like my first love playing an instrument. I started when I was around 16 about... And it's the only instrument I feel like really comfortable to just jam. Like on the guitar, I am a guitarist first now, like that's my main instrument now. But I'm pretty good at just writing songs rather than like playing other people's songs or being like really strong in like music theory. There's a lot of some of the songs I write, I just sit down and I find what sounds good, you know, like what sounds good string by string. And I'm like, oh, this chord sounds nice. I don't know what chord it is. I just like memorize where my fingers are, and I'm like, this sounds really good. Yeah, so if I'm with my band and they all start jamming and I'm on the guitar, like I'll just pretend like I'm busy on my phone or something, you know.
So you play guitar and drums, anything else?
And well, a little bit of a piano. Like I guess I'm the kind of person, like, give me any instrument and just leave me alone in a room with it, and by the end of the day I'll make something sound really nice, kind of thing. But I don't know like a crazy amount of like music theory or what I'm doing. It's just more of like an instinctual kind of thing that comes out.
And do you write songs? It sounds like you write songs music first. You come up with the chords and the melody and then kind of build on that.
Most of the time it just kind of happens all together, you know, like I'll just sit down when I'm in the mood of playing and just start like noodling around on the guitar, and the vocal melody will always come out like right away as I'm playing. And then the vocal melody will come out first, and then I'll just kind of like sing random words until things just come together. Like most of the time, if my song is not written completely, at the end of the day, it's gone forever. Like I'll rarely go back to it to work on it and finish it. It's kind of like a deal or no deal at the time.
Okay. And do you actually sit down and think, okay, I'm gonna write something, or you just feel something coming out of you and then you need to get it down before you forget?
I think it just comes out. Like I can't really plan to write, and I've been told more and more lately that you have to plan for creativity. You know what I mean? Like you have to have a time where you sit down and force yourself to be creative, because apparently creativity is like a skill that you develop and a skill that you have to work on. But for me, it never really worked that way. To just like force myself to sit down and say like, right now I'm writing a song. It will mostly just be like, if I'm feeling like really emotional about something, or there's something on my mind, or I just have time and I just like pick up the guitar and I just have nothing to do for a couple of hours, which is rare. So I haven't written in a while.
Right.
But yeah, it just kind of comes out. I can't, you know, with no stopping. It just kind of happens on its own.
And lyrically, you seem quite comfortable to talk about personal emotions. And is that a constant theme, or do you digress from that?
I find lately I'm getting much more comfortable writing about whatever I want. In the past, like I've had other projects in the last years that most of what I was writing, I was making sure that it was like very vague and like very poetic. And like the songs I was writing were like kind of like poems, you know, like you couldn't know what the song was about. But these days I'm all about like, I don't care what people think of the songs, or if the lyrics aren't like perfect or beautiful, or, you know, I'm just kind of being more like raw and authentic about it, and just like committing to the lyrics that I choose, that I felt at the time of writing, and just like letting that be.
And how is it? Do you write all the songs and then take them to the band? Do you get feedback from them? How is it work with the band?
Yeah, I write all the songs, and then we'll get together, try it out with the band, like see what works. A lot of times I've brought a song to the band and the arrangements that were there originally changed completely. Just, you know, like I'll take the input of the band, and sometimes like as the singer songwriter of the band, it's like you think you're so in the song and you think that everything is solid in the song that you don't hear like everything else because you're so in it. So it's nice to get that feedback and just be open to like different changes, different arrangements. And my band is great.
How about lyrically? Because obviously if you're writing these personal lyrics, do they ever give you feedback on the lyrics, or
never the lyrics? No. Well, most of my band, well, not most of my band, a lot of my band, like English is not their first language, I don't think. Okay. But also they're not my band members are not songwriters either, like lyrically, or like I asked my guitarist, like, do you ever write songs? Like, he's so great at what he does, and he says, no, like, I never write songs. Like, I just play on other people's songs. So lyrically, no, but also I never asked.
Well, yeah, maybe that's just how it should remain, and especially because they're personal lyrics. You know, it's hard it feels a bit like your baby, and it's hard to maybe change things that so and they've come out of your head, you know. So the album's out. How does it feel to have the album out?
It feels like a relief. Like, I've worked on the album for so long. It basically took like almost 8 months to get that album together. And obviously everything was harder because last year, you know, nobody was meeting. Everyone was like stuck in their house. And so I had a couple of songs. I've been wanting to do an album for a while, and everyone, well, not everyone, but most people were saying like, why are you going to put out an album? Like, nobody cares about albums anymore. Everybody just wants to hear like singles. Everyone's putting out singles, or like, but I've been a songwriter for a long time, and I've wanted to put out an album for so long. And I just felt like now's the time. But it was a lot of work. I recorded everything in the album, basically on my own. And then a lot of it was just getting online with my band and having them send over some parts and resend some parts. Some things they recorded and sent over to me. Everything else was basically like guitar was recorded in my bedroom pretty much, and then reamped at my friend's jam space. Vocals I recorded, you know, in my apartment. Yeah, it was a very like DIY project that took.
Were some of the songs pre-COVID, or was everything written in the last year or so?
No, most of it was already written and part of the set list that we were playing in the couple of months before COVID started. And then I added on like, I would say three or four new songs into there. And some of the songs that I originally wanted in the album, I had taken out and replaced with like newer songs.
If you met somebody and they didn't know like the kind of music that you're making, and you wanted to play one song from the album that kind of represents you the best, which one would you pick?
Oh, I actually just had this conversation, and the problem is that, and I don't know if it's a problem, but my music doesn't fall into like a straight up black and white genre. Like in the album, it's so widely spread, like singer-songwriter, some dream pop, some like alternative rock, some pop rock. So it would be hard to choose. When the album was finished, I Don't Mind was my favorite one. But it was also the newest one. So you know how that is, you know, you always like the newest song.
And is it your favorite now, do you think?
It's one of my favorites.
Okay.
Yeah,
What makes the song your favorite?
Because I feel like it mixes a lot of the styles that I do all in one. You know, like it really has that like 90s pop rock thing at the end of the song. And it has like an acoustic part, which I like. I don't really get to play acoustically so much anymore. My background is mostly like folk and acoustic. That's how I started out for years. I was just acoustic guitar and vocals. It was only in the last like 3 years that I switched my acoustic in for an electric guitar and started writing more like full band songs.
Which artist would you like to have a career similar to? Like who do you look up to as an artist and just think that's how I want this to go?
Oh man, that's an impossible question. I hate this question. It's really hard to say, honestly, because the question is like, who do you like wish your career was like, right?
Do you want to be rich and famous and selling out the Bell Center, or you want to be credible with your peers?
honestly, I don't want to be rich and famous and sell the Bell Center. Like, yeah, I have my moments where you're like, oh, I worked so hard for my music. Like, you know, you want to go all the way to the top. But where I am right now, I honestly just want my music to get to the ears that appreciate it. You know, like there's a niche, you know, for every kind of music, obviously. And I mean, the problem is now with like independent artists is like the music industry, social media, like it's so flooded. It's so hard for like your music to get lost in there. But I would just be happy to have like enough of a following that the hard work, you know, pays off in the way that people get to hear this, like the people that will appreciate this music get to hear it.
And you mentioned that some people thought it wasn't the best idea to put out a full album and that you should just maybe kind of drip out songs so that you just got constant content.
Yeah.
But obviously you wanted to put this album out. Is that more of a nostalgic thing, or are you an album person? Do you sit down and listen to albums front to back?
I think it's both. Like, I love the idea of just having done the album and be, you know, just have an album out that I've like worked super hard on and it's all there and it's like all at once. But yeah, like when I find a new artist, like, you know, through an ad or through a friend or whatever, I'll go on their Spotify and like, I want to hear what they sound like. And they only have like 2 singles out that sound like completely different. And I would love to just like hear what the band actually sounds like 10 songs in a row. Like, what is the essence of their sound? And it's hard to get that now.
Like, I love sitting down and listen to an album when I can. And one of the things I love about it is the order of the songs and how people will sequence the songs and what kind of story they try and tell with that. And I think that's a really important part of what makes the listening experience. And obviously people are missing out on that now because they're just dipping in and they're listening to playlists and the biggest single of the week. But thinking back throughout your life and, you know, when you discovered pop music and alternative music, is there one album that you think you've listened to more than any other over your lifetime?
There's so many. There's so many, like, especially the fact that growing up, my music was limited till I was like old enough to just do whatever I wanted, basically. Mm-hmm. There were like a couple that, like, you know, that we spoke about before that I had bought, like one CD that I had bought, or like, you know, every couple of weeks get another CD and listened to them like till they weren't like working anymore, basically. So yeah, I mean, I'm definitely an album person. Listen through the whole album. And if I'm the type of person that will, like, if I love an album so much, I'll just listen to it until I know that I can never listen to this again.
When was the last time you actually played live?
The last time we played live was the February before COVID started.
Okay, so just before.
It was right before. We had like an acoustic type of show. It was like we didn't have our drummer for that show. It was just bass, my guitarist and me in this like really sweet little like upstairs kind of loft show. It was weird, but it was cool.
Do you have any favorite venues that you like to play in Montreal?
Well, all of like, there's like a couple that like stay in rotation. The last couple that we played at O Patra Vis. We played at La Vitrola, which is now closed down, which is I love that venue. I love that. I love the red curtains, and it was like really cool. I've seen so many bands there. We've played there like 3-4 times, but that's gone.
And where do you like to see shows in Montreal? Do you have any favorite venues you like to go as a fan?
Not in particular. Like I've seen a lot of bands that I like that come in on small tours play at Le Ritz for some reason. Mm-hmm. They're always there at Le Ritz. I don't know if that place is still running.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, okay. I think they've actually started announcing shows again.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I've played there a bunch of times, but some of my like favorite, like, you know, when you have like one of your favorite bands from like some random place and you see they're doing like a one stop in Montreal, somehow they always end up at the Ritz. I don't know. So I've been there a lot.
So what's next for you? The album's out, and obviously it's still a little bit uncertain here in Montreal as to what we're going to be able to do in the near future. Do you have any plans?
Yeah, I guess we're just kind of like waiting around. You know, the album's out, but we didn't really get to, you know, to play the album much. So we're just kind of waiting for the venues to start opening. I've started looking around to book more shows. Maybe when things calm down a little bit more, do like a little bit of a tour, Canada or the States. But we're just kind of waiting.
All right. Well, thanks for your time today. I will let you get on with your Tuesday, your day off, do whatever you want to do. And I look forward to hearing what you do next and hopefully catching you live at some point.
Right. Thanks so much for this. Thanks for the interview and having me on here. And it was great. It was great to meet you.